My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Good afternoon. Let's do some business. We are doing it live right here, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons. We get right down to business with the news-driven hour right after Ben Shapiro. And just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5, Mottek On Money, live on the air on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at KBC.com and your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, KBC.com, Apple, iTunes, all your favorite podcast platforms. Stocks finishing slightly higher. Was a cliffhanger today, but sure enough, the Dow managed to close at an all-time high. Relatively quiet day of trading today as investors await the big earnings report that we'll be getting tomorrow from the AI giant NVIDIA. That'll be coming out after the closing bell tomorrow. Also, we'll be getting new inflation readings later in the week. The Dow coming in for a closing gain of 10 points, closing at 41,250.5. That is a record high close for the blue chip index. For those keeping track, the Dow has now scored 24 all-time closing highs so far this year. The S&P 500 also managed a closing gain today, up just about 9 points at 5,625. And the NASDAQ was up 29 points, settling at 17,755. Costco in the spotlight here, rising more than $16, up nearly 2% to end the day at $908 and change, lifting the company's market cap above $400 billion. For the first time. Costco stock the best performer among the S&P 500's consumer staples sector. Consumer confidence, by the way, got a bit of a lift this month in the latest report. Shares of Philip Morris on track to hit their highest close in more than 7 years today, rallying in that tobacco giant. And it looks like Philip Morris stock moving up to around 122 and change. And it looks like that's the highest close we've seen since 2017. Oil posting a bit of a pullback today after a 3-session rise, pressured by concerns over what's happening in the Middle East, rising tensions in the Middle East, and reported halt in crude oil output in Libya, feeding supply concerns. We did see concerns over the outlook for demand, though, apparently putting downward pressure on oil today. Walgreens shares tumbling below $10 for the first time in nearly 30 years today. This is pretty big news here. Shares down let me take a look here. Shares down nearly $1 to $9.45. And that's the lowest we've seen since, 1996. Pretty dismal year for that pharmacy chain now known as Walgreens Boots Alliance. Of course, NVIDIA will be taking the spotlight big time tomorrow, but it's been in the spotlight, of course, known as the Magnificent One. NVIDIA stock up nearly $2 today at $128.30 ahead of its earnings news that'll be coming out after the bell tomorrow. Excitement building ahead of the earnings report from AI giant NVIDIA. And, of course, we'll have complete coverage on that tomorrow. The undisputed leader in the AI business, NVIDIA, will report its second quarter earnings after the closing bell. And many folks on Wall Street believe it's a potential make-or-break moment for the AI trading frenzy in the stock market, which, of course, has led the tech rally over the past year. In the business of show business, we see Paramount Global stock taking a tumble today, down, 81 cents to $10.52, a drop of about 7%. This after businessman Edgar Bronfman Jr. scrapped his bid for the company's parent, National Amusements. House Republicans now accusing the acting U.S. Labor Secretary Julie Su of ignoring fraud here in California after the U.S. Labor Department forgave billions of dollars in pandemic insurance debt in California. Congresswoman Michelle Steele led a letter signed by all 12 California Republicans that demanded the acting secretary explain her decision to forgive $32 billion in unemployment insurance debt and called for an end to her obstruction of congressional oversight. Now, this actually before becoming acting U.S. Labor Secretary, Julie Su was California's labor chief. And one reason her confirmation as permanent secretary is being held up is that California authorities found the Employment Development Department here in California, run by Julie Su at the time, did not beef up its fraud protection programs. And as a result, billions of taxpayer dollars were lost to fraud. I'll talk about that. And I'll talk about it with the Honorable Michelle Steele, Republican Southern California Congresswoman, is scheduled to join us live later this hour. Another day, another cyber attack among the latest. A cyber attack impacting the Seattle airport, leaving tens of thousands of travelers stuck in long lines. An oil drilling company, Halliburton, one of the world's largest energy companies, also hit by a cyber attack, reportedly had to shut down some of its systems following a cyber attack which involved unauthorized access to its systems. I'll discuss all that and all these cyber attacks with Michael Broomer, Vice President and Head of Experian Global Data Breach Resolution. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, NVIDIA, record close for the Dow, the whole works now. Joining us live, Gabriel Wisdom, co-founder and managing director of American Money Management, also author of Wisdom on Value Investing. Gabriel Wisdom, a lot to unpack here. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Frank, for having me on. You know, we've been wondering, are we in the fifth inning or the eighth inning of this business cycle and the economic cycle? And it appears that we're closer to the beginning than the end based on the numbers. Evidence is growing that stocks, if they are a barometer of future economic activity, have made their summer lows. Generally, August to October is the toughest period for financial markets, and that's what we've seen here. You mentioned, I think it was 24 record highs so far this year, onward and upward. The only thing that seems to be a spoiler are the tensions in Iran, the Russia-Ukraine war, and, of course, the Middle East. But since 1950, Frank, when the broad stock market, the S&P 500, is up 10% in the first.
When you have sports mixed with your pop culture, along with humor and celebrity interviews, your earbuds are enjoying The Rich Eisen Show.
Good to see you, Bruce Feldman, the Big 12 landscape. I just know how Dion is, where he's coming from. His wins are measured differently. The question is, as you said, it's got to go from 4 to 8.
I think they can do that. It would be hard not to get better considering how bad they were on the offensive line last year. Now, their schedule actually feels harder this year than it was last year.
Search for The Rich Eisen Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.